have 4 for you tonight.
Awesome.
All right. This first one is called Entropy's Song. Stress, the ever-threatening dark clouds of the inevitable, whose seamless perfection stretches on into infinity, looms always over and among us, pulling in all directions, as only it, the vehicle of the great void and its paired promise of change and death can. Hear now its mournful song, eerily triumphant and joyous in its keening, as it drags and hearkens all that is and ever will be to inevitable silence. Struggle responds with a knack for single-mindedness. The futility of its action and purpose is permanent, yet striving does not cease for the logic of despair. It trumpets, hoping to interrupt the rhythm, dissuade the pattern, bend the pathway, but the destination is always the same. Like all its intent, it fails in achieving its vision. It is always only a harmony to Entropy's song, its violence keeping the beat. Wow. This next one, I don't like the name of it, so I'm not going to tell it to you. Bend low, crescently. Reach down to touch the surface of the water, just to watch the ripples laugh. Remember that milky, arcing curve of her body, the way it shone just like the moon in starlight, your hands on her hips, her skin cool and hot at once, the taste of her. Silhouettes of trees remind you of cracks in the sky. You wonder if the whole tedious blue is really just a stencil resting on the horizon, if dreams could ever be exactly as they seem. The steely gray of the thunderclouds reminds her of the loneliness she feels after sex, that moment of clarity following muddled ecstasy, when she realizes that's the closest she'll ever be to her lover, to anyone, and it still isn't enough. It will never be enough. She rolls over the same way the clouds roll away from the lightning, trembling and mighty, glinting in the light of flight. You cannot see mystery where there is only rain, and that's why you don't worry when she leaves the room without saying anything. You're certain of her pleasure, as sure as you're certain of yours, confident this moment is the same for both of you, certain nothing unpleasant can happen under gentle lavender skies. She's surprised by how unclearly she's been thinking, how foggy her desire has made her. She's a tight metal string ringing. And as he falls into that swaying storm of sleep, she rises like a whirlwind of intense need, and she runs.
Ooh.
2 more, people. All right. This one is the drifter. A drifter sinks alone on an empty highway. He sinks into his ditch. He sinks into the bottle he holds with tender appreciation. He is a haunted man. He is haunted by sunshine that is too bright, rain that is too wet, a ground that is too dusty. He is haunted by sad magic that is too real, by patterns of time that never cease their cycling around him. He has no choice but to sink. So he sinks, like a raw gemstone in ice water, like hope after losing, like footsteps on soft moss. He is an expert in sinking, for he cannot swim or float or laugh. His heart is always trapping him with foul memories and a sick spirit. The trap cannot be escaped. But sometimes he feels lucky. When he sinks deep enough and lies still enough, he can think for the space between his heartbeats. He can believe he is not imprisoned. He can believe he is divine. But it never lasts. The tide of his life always pulls him back to the dreariness of too much drifting and too much sinking and too much melting. His heart is a lump of gold, easily manipulated and always heavy in his chest. There is never enough.
Woo.
This last one is Melancholy Wave. The salted crests of the waves strike with jagged crystals, scratching sand and water alike. It strives, gasping and clutching, trying to pull itself out of the messy sea it's trapped in. Slip and pull, the tide always wins, dragging the rebellious wave back into itself, the salty spirits leaving their gruesome claw marks of desperation as they're drugged back into that oblivion of inseparable mass. The wave swells into rebirth, throwing itself with all the melancholy and distress of futility, with all the senseless striving of instinct, trying to separate itself from its own body, trying to be like rain.